As I told you in my recent video about my watch collecting plans for 2019, I want to get a racing-inspired watch. Well, I think I've found a watch to fill this objective. Stay tuned as I review the alternatives I considered and why I selected the watch I just ordered. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Adventures with Time in 2019, where I talk about a new watch purchase. But first, a wristwatch check. I'm wearing my Vostok Komodansky, my Russian-made watch. Normally in my videos, I go over my selection process for purchasing a new watch, as well as a review of the watch itself. But in this episode, I'll only be doing the first part of that, because the watch I selected is on pre-order and won't be arriving until later this summer. As you saw in the intro, this watch is going to be a racing or racing-inspired watch. As I started to look for racing watches or motorsport watches, what I found is that racing watches have two basic attributes or complications. First, they have a chronograph for timing events. But more important for racing, they have a tachometer, which is used to make time and distance calculations much easier. Now, there are several iconic racing watches which everyone should be familiar with. There's the Hauer Monaco, immortalized by Steve McQueen in the movie Le Mans. When I first saw this watch, I wasn't a fan. Who would want a big square watch? But as I looked at it more and more, I came to appreciate its beauty and style. Tag Heuer still offers several models of the Monaco, all retailing just over $5,000. Another famous racing watch is the Omega Speedmaster, probably best known for being the watch that went to the moon. These retail for about $6,000, depending on what model you get. Then there is the Rolex Daytona, best known for Paul Newman's watch, which holds an auction record-setting price of over $17 million. Of course, new versions can be had for much less. But each of these is more than what I'm willing to spend right now for my collection, so I need to look elsewhere. I found that some racing watches, or racing-inspired watches, have very flashy designs, which is not to my liking. And there are some makers who use designs that are fashioned after specific racing cars. One example of this is Autodromo, who I also saw at the Worn and Wound Wind-Up show in New York City last year. Although I did have a Camaro when I was younger, I'm not one of those people who are into cars or racing cars. So having these car monikers or design elements in a watch is not something I'm looking for. I looked at Seiko, Torgion, Straton, and many others, but nothing really appealed to me. But then last month in January, I became aware of a new model coming out from the Straton Watch Company. As I said, I had looked at Straton before and really didn't like any of their previous models. The Straton Watch Company is a Swiss maker whose tagline is "Style created through passion." In 2015, they released their first watch called the Vintage Driver Chrono. Following releases included the Curve Chrono in 2016, the Straton Synchro, Straton Local Time, the Straton Speciale, and the Straton VDC MK2. As I said, none of these watch designs really appeal to me. But now, in 2019, their new model, the Legera, is something that I really like. Legera is being launched today, February 17th, through a Kickstarter campaign, and there are several versions available. Initially, there will be 2 model styles, 5 or more colors, and 2 movement choices, for a total of 20 or more combinations to choose from, not including the wrist or bracelet options. The first choice I have to make is which of the 2 basic models to get. The Legera Standard has, as the name implies, a standard layout with the crown on the 3 o'clock side of the watch. The Legera Bullhead rotates the crown and the chronograph pushers to the top of the watch, the 12 o'clock position, making the watch almost look like a bullhead where the pushers are the two horns of a bull. And overall, the watch looks like a handheld stopwatch. I went back and forth on which layout I really wanted, but ultimately selected the Bullhead model. First of all, I think it has a more interesting wrist presence, something that will stand out and people will notice. Also, the case design is a little different in that, looking from the side, the watch has a wedge shape appearance. I believe this is to allow the crown and pushers and the lug where the strap attaches to all sit at the top of the watch. You don't need that much width at the bottom of the watch because it's only the lug down there. I must admit that I'm a little concerned about that watch fitting under a shirt cuff, but we'll see when it arrives later this year. Also, the Bullhead model is a bit narrower at 42 millimeters, whereas the standard is 44 millimeters wide. 2 millimeters isn't that much, but my sweet spot for a watch is between 40 and 42 millimeters. So the Bullhead fits right in there. One also has to pick which movement you want. Either the Seiko VK67 Mecha Quartz Hybrid, where the standard timekeeping function is performed by a quartz mechanism, but the chronograph is run mechanically, or the ETA Valjoux 7750. But I prefer mechanical automatic over a quartz movement, although somewhat more expensive at about 2.5 times the price of the Seiko. I went with the Valjoux. The watch is initially being offered in 5 different dial color patterns, more depending on the success of the Kickstarter campaign. I considered all of the color options based on the photos available by Straton, and I thought the best looking was the one with the black dial, mostly black, on a stainless steel case. So that's where I'm headed. But the way the Kickstarter campaign is structured is that you pledge a certain amount based on a tier, and that tier determines whether you're entitled to a Seiko movement watch or an ETA movement watch, or multiple or both, again, depending on the amount that you pledge. You actually select your particular watch within those parameters later on in the year. So I'm all set to make my pledge as soon as the campaign kicks off, which is in about 30 minutes. I'll leave a link in the description below to the Kickstarter campaign. I believe it runs through sometime in March, after which time the prices will go up. I believe there's about a 30% or 36% discount for getting the watch through the Kickstarter campaign. And that's significant, especially when you're looking at the ETA movement model. So the Kickstarter campaign just opened up, and I'm going on to make my pledge. This is actually the first time I've ever used Kickstarter, but it looks fairly straightforward. You can see that there are several tiers at which one can pledge, depending on which movement type you want, how many watches you want, and whether you want just a strap or a strap and a bracelet. It looks like some people have already gotten on and made their selections, even though it's only been open for about 4 minutes. So now I'm all set. Now I just have to wait back with anticipation until the watch arrives in August. And of course, I'll make another video reviewing that watch in detail once I get it. So please subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you're notified as soon as that and any of my other videos are posted. And as always, please remember to hit that thumbs up button and provide your comments below. Until the next time.